Okay,
Yay, I see you.
there we are.
Hi, long lost friend. Oh my gosh.
It's been a long time.
I know. Oh my God.
I was trying to remember, like, when was the last time? And I couldn't pinpoint it.
I know. I don't even want to talk about numbers.
But you look great. You look the same.
You look the same.
Really?
Yes.
You look the same. I'm like looking at you, I'm like, wow,
Yes.
life has been good.
Coming from you, that's a compliment. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like any excuse to hang out with you, even though you're like in New York City and I'm in the middle of like a field in Utah. But yeah, we weren't rural. And that's why I was like, I hope the internet's working when we're talking because it's sketchy out here, but that's kind of nice.
Well, this is the first time I'm using my iPad on the Zoom. My computer broke, and so I had to, I've been using my phone doing these interviews, but I'm like, this is ridiculous. I need to learn how to use my iPad, and you're the first person that I'm Zooming with.
See? It's so much better than like this, right? You're like staring at a little phone.
I'm like holding it like this, and I'm like,
but
here we are. Here we are, and
I know.
We're finally talking face to face, and we've been chatting on Facebook, and hey, how's it going, and all that, and so, and I've been traveling a lot, especially in Utah, during this COVID, time and everything. So, yeah.
I know. I was like, well, if we're not going to connect, then I'm going to interview you, and then we have to talk.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay, so I have to show you something.
Okay.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
All right, hold on.
There you go. Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I like dug up. I'm like, it was 2005.
Was that when it was 2005?
Yes.
That's when I did that recital for the UN.
Yeah.
For the Tongan, for the United Nations and the Tongan Embassy, and they invited Australia and New Zealand and all these other people to come and to this recital.
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? I had to dig it up, but I'm like, I'm going to find it. And
you look the same. It's just your hair is curlier and it's not, but you look the same.
Well, usually my hair is curly. I'm like, I'm going to actually do my hair today. So it's a little bit different, but I even found the video footage of you practicing and seeing Oh Holy Night. I'll have to find it. I can send it to you, but it's so
oh my gosh.
That cool? Yeah.
Wow. That was my days before Juilliard.
Really? It was before Juilliard?
Yeah. Juilliard was 2008. And
yeah,
I went to Juilliard the fall of 2008 and 8, 9, 10, and graduated in 11.
Oh my gosh. See, you're amazing. You're amazing. Okay, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Okay, first, I want to start with like, what are you doing right now? Like, what's going on in your creative, incredible life right now?
Well, because of this pandemic, nothing's going on.
Right.
For all of us who is in the entertainment business, we are totally on lockdown. And so what I do is I try to inspire myself by just, luckily, we have YouTube. And so I go on YouTube and I listen to a lot of the great singers of the past to be inspired by them. And also, once in a while, I look at a piece of music and just brush up on some German, Italian, or French opera or something. But it is really, really hard to find inspiration during this time because it's really tough, especially living in New York, because a lot of people, they are stuck. A lot of people are not working or whatever, so they're home, and so you don't want to interrupt them around 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, singing, and they want their peace, and so it's really hard. I just wish that at times I lived in Utah and I could just go out to an open field and just let go and release and sing.
Thank you. Okay, so Ta'u Pupu'a, opera singer. Okay, I didn't even introduce, so that is the introduction. So yes, opera, you can't just like go crazy in the middle of New York City. I mean, I guess you could. I vote for that. I think that would be incredible. But yeah, the fields of Utah, you could just go crazy. And yeah, the pandemics hit you very differently in the city versus like, you know, rural scenarios. But, you know, we're both in the entertainment world, and yeah, everything just kind of went to a screeching halt.
Yeah, I mean, Broadway is dark.
Wow.
I mean, you go to Times Square and all, and it is just, you know, everything is closed. I heard that they are thinking of opening up Broadway again in the month of June, July, something like that.
Not till then.
Not till then, and the Metropolitan Opera in September, you know, next year. And so a lot of us, you know, and it makes me wonder, like, about the people in, you know, Hollywood movies and stuff. I mean, how are they coping with it? Are they making movies or what? Because here in New York, the movie theaters, especially in New York City, they're still closed. It's a hard time.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I really am so grateful that you're like chatting with me right now, because we did a couple of mini backyard private concerts. We're doing some streaming, like anything to kind of just keep the industry going, and like sending tips to our performers and entertainers, because like that's your bread and butter. Like that's where you make your living. And when
that's where you make your living. Yeah. And that's where you make your living and all. I mean, I was scheduled to, a friend of mine said, hey, do you want to sing with me at this country club for Christmas on the 19th of this month? And I said, oh my gosh, that'll be great. I have not sung for months. And so I just have to, you know, oil up the vocal cords and start practicing on my skills and start singing again. Because singing, to be an opera singer, I find, you know, it's an athletic thing. Because when you sing, your diaphragm, everything has to work. Everything has to sort of come together. And so if you don't use those muscles tend to be lazy, be out of shape. You know, just like all muscles if you don't work it out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Everything's so crazy right now. But yeah. I want to take, so you've done some really cool stuff. So let's kind of now take where you're at now, which it's weird that the answers in 2020 are way different than they would have been like last year, and hopefully moving forward. But your answers are different. Like we're not even doing what we creatively want to be doing, but it's making us pivot, look outside, look at different options. But let's rewind like clear to the beginning. Okay, so where did you grow up, and tell me about little Ta'u?
Well, I was born in Tonga. My parents are both Tongans. My dad is from the village of Ta'u, and my mom is from Uiha and Fahefa. And so I was born in Tonga-Tapu. And then we moved to America when I was about 5, 6 years old, and grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. And the reason why we moved to Salt Lake City is everybody asked, like, why did you, of all places, I mean, you go from paradise to Utah. And I said, oh, my mom's side of the family, they're LDS. And so we sort of went with them. And so, which was a wonderful thing, you know, to grow up in Utah. I loved it.
How long were you in Utah? Because you've been all over since then.
Let me see. So I was in Utah. I moved out of Utah when I was, I would say 17, 18, when I went to college.
And college was where?
College, I went to Rick's College in Idaho, which is now BYU something.
BYU Idaho.
And yeah, and then from there I went to Weber State University in Ogden. I went to school to Rick's on a football scholarship. But before that, I attended Highland High School in Salt Lake City. And went on to Rick's College, and from there to Weber State University, 2 years, and then was drafted from there to the Cleveland Browns.
That's right. So were you just at the Browns, or did you go elsewhere?
I was with the Browns for 1 year, and it was during their transition. They were leaving, they were leaving to go to Baltimore and to become the Baltimore Ravens. So I was there for another year, and then I got injured when I was there.
And then, okay, so I love the story of football to opera. It's one of my favorites. But in that whole realm of your childhood, was there something that brought you Polynesians, musical people, obviously, I'm sure that's in your family and that talent is in your family. But was there a pivotal moment or memory in your life that you're like, I'm doing music? Or was that never even, did that come later?
Well, I think I'm going to brag a little because the Polynesian people, music is in our blood, no matter what. I mean, you see a lot of people who might be out and about doing some yard work, or you see them at the beach, or you see them anywhere. There's always a tune in their head. They're always humming something or always singing about something. And so with me growing up being the youngest out of 9 kids, my parents would, take us to church where music was a big thing. And so they would sing in the choir. And me being a toddler kid just running around, I would not sing, but I would hear it. It would be in my ear. And my brother, number 8, since I'm number 9, we'll just go by numbers. Number 8, he was really interested in the arts, shall we say. In high school, he went to South. He was in the drama department. He was in, choir, and he was in all this stuff. So he would come home and he would go through his music, singing Handel or Mozart or, one of those composers. And I would come home from practice. And so I would hear it. So it was always in the house. And it was always something that inspired me to be because it all depends on the kind of music, right? So you have music that inspires you to your higher good, or there's music that inspire you to do other things that is not so high, for your higher good. And so for me, I grew up in a household that it was just nothing but good, stable music. And so that's what I had, and that's what I grew up with. And so when I played sports, when I played football, those two things sort of just went hand in hand. It was like one accompanying the other. And, walking out to the football field, you're humming something, you're singing something, and you're either like, when you win the football game or whatever, or when you make a quarterback sack, you could sing about that. And, it was just one of those great things, that I sort of like decided that these two are going to go hand in hand. And when one doesn't take me on a journey that I want to go, in life, the other one will. And so when I got injured from football, I had music to fall back on.
So it's always been there. Obviously in your blood, but then it just continued to grow. And
it has always been there because I believe that everybody is born with some kind of a blessing, a talent. And it's up to that individual to find the purpose of life, their purpose of life. I can't tell you what your purpose of life is. You must discover it for yourself. And once you discover that, you need to take hold of that and you need to polish it like a diamond. And you got to let that talent that you have discovered within yourself, polish it, let it shine, and share it with the world.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That was going to be my later question, but of course you're inspired. Yeah, I was going to say, how do you feel about your talents and using them for the greater good and using them to bless others? And that was beautiful. I love that. You're the best. So then, was there a pivotal moment? I mean, you mentioned being injured in football. Did that kind of just segue you let's do this? It's time for music. Was that the pivotal moment of your music creation, creativity?
Well, I had, shall we say, I want to say 2 or 3 times I had the opportunity of going back. So when I got injured, I talked to the head coach that drafted me, Bill Belichick. I talked to him and I told him what happened. And he said, well, let's do this. And so I went home, I left Baltimore Ravens and went back to Salt Lake City, and I did my rehab there. And Bill told me to look into the Canadian League and play there for a year, and then he'll look at me to pick me, to bring me back to the NFL. And so I went to the Canadian League. I had a tryout. So I went out there, and can you believe it? I rarely get injured. I got injured the first day of practice. I almost said rehearsal. First day of rehearsal. I'm so used to opera now that I'm like, first day of rehearsal. So I got injured the first day of practice, and I left. And I thought, what is going on with this? And so I came back to Salt Lake City, and then I had another opportunity to go to another football team. And during that time when I can't remember, but I remember going to the Philadelphia Eagles and doing a tryout for them. And I just couldn't get my, like what I said earlier about singing, you got to keep practicing, it's muscles. And so I wasn't in my football shape, shall we say, and getting back into football. And so I was at a football team, and I remember on the third or fourth day, I sitting in the hotel before I went to practice. I remember just looking up. I pulled up the shades to the window of the hotel, and I just looked up to the heavens, and I just in my heart, I said, what is my true calling? What is my purpose of life? What is my true calling? And this little voice came into my head, and it said, step left, move forward, and move to New York and go and sing. And that's what I did. I listened to that voice, and I remember calling my dad, and I said, Dad, I decided that I'm not going to play football anymore, that I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to sing. And my dad sat there and didn't say anything for about 30 seconds. And then he said, this is what I've always wanted you to do, was to share your talent in music. And he says, you have my blessings.
Wow.
And so here I am.
And how did that feel coming from your dad?
Oh gosh, it felt so good. I felt free. I felt like I could do whatever I wanted to do now. And to get your dad's blessings was like a big blessing. And so, I moved to New York, and, the first couple of years were hard because I didn't know anyone that lived in New York. And, I walked around. I didn't work or anything because I didn't know what to do, because all my life I played sports. All my life in college, I didn't have to work because I was always on a full scholarship. And so I didn't know what to do. And I remember I sat down one night, and I thought to myself, let's do a game plan here. And my main goal was to sing. And so I thought the only thing I could think of to do is go and find a job near the Metropolitan Opera, Juilliard, and Lincoln Center. And so what's around Lincoln Center? Restaurants. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be a waiter. And so I walked up to one of the restaurants and said, hey, I would like to apply and work here and, be a host or whatever. And they said, all right, fill out this application. And I filled it out, and they said, welcome. I said, okay, great. And so the reason why I picked a restaurant across the street from the Metropolitan Opera and Juilliard is because I knew that the great singers and conductors and directors and students from Juilliard will come in and eat at the restaurant, and I will get to meet them, and I will get to maybe hang out with them or whatever. And lo and behold, in comes Placido Domingo, Pavarotti, and all these great singers. And I was able to watch and study these people because I really wanted to know what makes them tick, and what makes them great, And as you know, the restaurants in New York could be very, very loud. very, very loud. And so I wanted to see how loud do they talk in a restaurant, because talking strains your voice. You could get hoarse if you have to have rehearsals or all. What do they drink? Do they drink alcohol? Because we know that alcohol dries the vocal cords. I worked at the restaurant for about 3 years, and I just studied them all. And then I became friends with a lot of students who told me about their voice teachers, and I went and took lessons with them. And so just one thing led to another.
That sounds so cool. And you placed yourself where you need to be.
Yeah, you have to place yourself. If you want to be a star, you got to place yourself in somewhere where you could be amongst the stars. And you know, you dream big. You have to dream big. And you have to dream big, and you have to just, you can't doubt yourself. I mean, there's a lot of people are going to come and they're going to sit there and go, nah, it's not going to work out for you. And you got to just sit there and go, well, I'll show you. I'll show you.
Show you. Yes. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of those things, because there are people, so I believe that everyone is a creator, because we are children of the great creator. We are creators in our heart, like to our very being. But maybe not everybody sees themselves that way. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a singer, an opera singer, or an artist or a musician. It's just you create. And my favorite line is, creation is divine. Like anything that was not there before that you've created is a divine act. And I love that. So with that, there are so many people out there that maybe are pursuing these goals, and maybe they didn't have a dad that encouraged them. Maybe they have a parent that, or a spouse or a friend that like shuts down their dream. What would you say to that person?
I will say to that person is like, you know, you have to surround yourself with people who will bring you to your higher good. If there is someone that sits there that they just keep on sitting there and just keep on putting doubt, planting that seed of doubt in your mind, I mean, it's time to move on and find new friends. Or, you know, if it's a relative, time to move on and hang out with different relatives that plant seeds of hope, seeds of dreams, seeds of love, because with every kind of dream, there has to be love and hope. You have to nurture it and all. And I'm not saying that everybody should be a singer or a football player or whatever. What I'm saying is, like, whatever you do in life, you do it to your very best and love what you do. If you are a janitor, or if you are work at a grocery store and you bag groceries, you do that to your very best and you love what you do, because, you know, life is about living love and joy and creating something that is just, you know, hopeful and positive in your life and the lives outside of your life.
Yes. Yes. Like there's so many Ta'u Pupu'a quotes that I get to pull from this. Yes. Okay. So pivotal moments and pivotal people. You've mentioned a couple. Are there any other pivotal moments or pivotal people that have brought you here? And then we'll talk about like future creations. But what about any more?
Sure. Like, I mean, I am like literally going back to when I was 7 or maybe 8 years old, living in Salt Lake City, Utah. And my grandmother, I remember her saying to me, and because I believe that in order to be something good in your life and in other people's lives, it starts from that seed that is planted within you and the people that is around your circle, your parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, whatever. The people that are around your circle, are they watering that seed that is in you with hope, love, joy, and inspiration, right? And so my grandmother, she was one of those people that would always water that seed that's within me. I remember when I was, like I said, 7 or 8 years old, and she sat me down one day and she says, Ta'u. Ta'u. Do you know that your body is the temple of the Lord? And I sat there as a little kid and it didn't hit me. Like I said, I know what? He goes, the Lord lives within you. And I'm like, the Lord doesn't live where? You're a little kid and then my grandma, she just said, so always live your life with goodness, kindness. And every time you get angry or jealousy or something that doesn't bring you goodness, you take that, the broom, you take the broom and you sweep it out of you, sweep it out of your soul and sweep it out of your ears and sweep it out of your mouth because the Lord lives in you. And then she went into, so that's why she says, that's why we don't drink alcohol. That's why we don't do this and this. And you're 8 years old and you're just like, okay. And so it was just one of those things that growing up, I always had this in my mind. And so when I would be in high school, and I remember my colleagues, my football buddies, teammates and everything, they would go out drinking. I never drank. They would smoke. I never smoked because this was in my mind. And then would go on to college and not at Rick's. It didn't happen at Rick's. But when I went to Weber, there was a lot of, teammates that would just party. And I never did any of that. And, I just sat there but my teammates never made me feel low or made me feel like not wanted. It was just like they respected my choice. And that's what we also have to look into our lives is hanging around people that respects your choice, because your choice is your choice. It's not their choice. And you have to hang around with those type of people that allows you to make your own choices.
I love that too. That's so important. I love all this inspiration that everybody needs to hear. Like you've been through it and these are the tips and ideas and tricks that have inspired you. And I also love that words from grandma resonated your entire life, right? Like you still remember it. So that's another thing that I think is powerful is words are creative and the combination of how you put words together and feed to a person can tear someone down or can lift someone up. And words are so important in the whole, just in life, right? In everything. Okay, so what is on the docket for you? What is in your creative future?
Well, there are things that are on the stove, but on the back burner.
Mm-hmm. Shelf,
I don't know.
Shelf for now.
I don't know if I could talk about it yet, but it's exciting things. But it's on hold. Like a lot of things in our lives is on hold. Right now, it's just learning a new piece of music, and it's really, really hard, especially during this time, Christmas. Who doesn't like to sing a good "Oh Holy Night" or "Silent Night" or one of those, number one hits, and Christmas concerts and all that. It's really hard to sit back and, just play your music. And you want to share the gifts that you have been blessed with, especially during this time, but you can't.
Okay, let me ask you something about that. Okay, I love that we're on the same page. We've been given these gifts, right? And we're supposed to utilize those for good, for helping and blessing and helping others see the light of Christ. How do you pivot? What do you do when you can't? How do you think outside of the box? And every single person is different, but how do you motivate yourself to not give up and not put on pause your gifts, but how do you think outside of the box for you personally?
Well, for me personally, to think outside of the box is to, we're in 2020 now, and there's a lot of ways of sharing your gifts. Through Zoom, one could sing. through Zoom. One could give a concert through Zoom or do all this amazing things with technology nowadays. I've had many opportunities of, colleagues and who've reached out and said, hey, let's do a concert, we'll rent this hall and we could go in there and we will sing and blah, 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 blah. And I keep on saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And they say, why? And I said, because when it comes to especially a lot of the operatic voices, the microphone does not pick up your voice. There is something that is missing. I'm sure a lot of people will love it and everything, but for me as an artist, I just want to give out the best. I only want to give out the best. And I know that through the speakers and microphones of what we have, it is not good enough.
Not for
and
opera.
So I just, not for opera. And so I decline a lot of offers. Of course, the arts are going to get killed, of course, because we are people who like to interact with each other. We like face to face. We like to hug, we like to, it's really hard for me to see that.
Yeah.
And so.
It's so hard. And I, for one, am very grateful to at least have this to be able to connect with people. We all do. Like, we all need to gather and be together because it's an energy, that all of us need and just love. But the second best thing, I'm so grateful that we can at least talk because this is so hard. But yeah, sharing your gift in the words that you're saying is inspiring and lifting me. And I know it's going to help and inspire and lift other people, because I think right now we just need to be encouraged to keep going and to hang on. Keep going, hang on, right? Like, that's kind of all we can do. And then just do the very best that you can until future notice. And especially, I'm looking at your backdrop. You're in New York. Are you still in the same place right there by Central Park?
Yep, I'm still here in Central Park.
Right in the middle of it, right in the heart.
Yeah, but when we met, it was one apartment, but I joined 2 apartments together, so it's bigger. So the pandemic is not so bad.
Right? Yeah, you're at least not. Right. Well, it's gorgeous. It's so pretty, and I love what you're sharing, and like your pictures that you've been sharing you're just amazing. I just love you.
Thank you.
I had a couple more questions if I could read my writing, but what would you want someone that sees this? Okay, let's see it. Hopefully every time we put a video out there or anything that we post out there, we pray that it gets to the right eyes, the right heart, the right mind, the right ears, right? What would you hope that someone watching this would take away from what you're sharing from your story?
For me, it's never give up. Surround yourself with good people. Dream big. No is not the final answer to a dream that you have. Bob Marley says it best: when one door closed, and many more are open, right? And so, and also, what I want people to get from this is that in my life, I've had so many people that have helped me get to where I'm at. To get a full scholarship to Juilliard was amazing. And that was due to a famous Polynesian opera singer by the name of kre8er from New Zealand, Maori. And she said something really important that would always stay with me. She said that in life, a lot of people, when people are down, a lot of people, they just need that little push. Just pick them up and give them a little push. And that's all they need. And they go on and they do something great with their lives. Because a lot of times when we see people who are down, we sort of just look at them and keep them down, or we don't even give them a helping hand. we sort of just look at them and say, well, it's their fault for doing that. Well, you know, it was their choice for doing that. We don't really, we should not judge someone by that. We should always look at that person of like, that person's down. I'm going to try to help out this person and pick them up and give them that little push. And so what she told me about that little push, and that's what she did with me. You know, she took me to Juilliard. She pushed me through, you know, the doors to get in, and I sang for the boss of the vocal department of Juilliard. And I mean, it's just life. People need that little push. Some people don't, but a lot of people do. A lot of people need that, just a little push or direction of the right way. If you see someone going in the wrong direction, you give them a push to the right direction. They might not want to hear you right away, but you know, you have to just stay there, and you have to always be there. And you also have to keep on telling them this is out of love. This is not me trying to control you, but this is out of love. And a football coach, when I was at Weber, said something really important that will always stay with me also, is this. Ta'u, do you notice that I'm always picking on you? And I said, yeah, gosh, you're like, why are you always picking on me? And he goes, it's a good sign, Ta'u, because once I don't pick on you and you hear silence from coaches, that means we've given up on you and we don't care. We don't want to direct you. We don't want to show you the right way. We don't want to make you better. But the reason why I'm picking on you is because I believe in you. And so a lot of times when someone is picking on you, it doesn't mean they're picking on you just to get on your bad side or whatever. They're picking on you because they care about you. They love about you. They believe in you. And so that's what I want you to take away, is never give up on yourself, and don't get mad at the people that are helping you get to where you're supposed to go.
Yes. So with kre8er, our hashtag is actually you are more. And I think there's so much going around of like, you're enough, you are great just how you are. And I agree, because every person is a precious child of God. But there's so much in us that we can do. I mean, I'm sure that you would even say it, like, I can do even more than I'm doing. I can improve and do even better. Like, we can be improving even a little bit each and every day. So I love that you shared that's what we're trying to do, is just tap in a little bit more to the divine nature that we have. Okay, what I kind of wanted to, is there anything else that you want to share that you think would be important to share from your story?
Yes, that during this whole journey, I've always believed that there was a higher power. I've always believed that there was a God, that there is God. I always believed that in Jesus. I have always believed in my faith. And the key is to never let go of your faith in your belief in God and Jesus, in your church. Never lose faith in that, because once you start losing faith in that, your foundation could be shaken easily. And once that foundation is shaken, what happens to a foundation when it's shaken? It cracks. And when it cracks, things start to fall apart. And so you just have to be aware I always pray. Before I go to bed, I pray. I listen to a lot of inspirational things, prayers, talk, anything that would inspire me to my greater good. Yeah, I mean, I'm always praying. I pray over my food. Like, people here in New York will look at me and I don't care, because I bow my head and I say grace over my food. It's not my problem. If they think there's a problem, then that's their problem, not my problem. And so I say grace over my food. I usually have big parties here at my apartment. There'll be 30, 40 people here. People of different backgrounds and faith and everything. And before we eat, I literally have people stand there and they're looking at this food that I have prepared. And I said, in my household, I always give thanks to God. And I'm going to say my prayer now. And people sit there and I look around and I see a lot of people shocked by it. Like, oh, like, wow. And a lot of people who will just sit there and just bow their heads, won't say anything. But I say, it's my house and it's my rule. And so I always bless my food. And I do. And I've had so many people come up to me and say, you know what I really love is that you give thanks. And I say, well, thank you, you know? And so there it is. Always give thanks.
I love that. And we've known each other for quite a number of years. And I have always known your heart to be like just the most incredible. Like you just can sense it. Like I just adore you. And talking to you about your story and a little bit like diving in a little bit more and then hearing your values and hearing why you do the things you do and what's important to you and the foundational things that you make sure that you do is very, it's reflected in who you are as a person. And that's why you're so amazing. And that's why I adore you is because of what's important to you and your values and how you live. And I love that you're not afraid to live that way. And I think that that's what all of us need to do is find our true, like, what is your true values and what do you care about and let it be who you are. Because reflecting in who you are, you're living in the middle of New York City, you are in the entertainment industry and you are still true to what you know to be true. And it creates this incredible aura about you. You're an incredible human being. I just love you, Ta'u. You're the best.
Well, just remember that. I just want to say, just remember that it is between you and God. It's not between you and anyone else. So whatever you are going through with your life, it's just between you and God. Other people can say whatever they want to say or whatever. It is just between you and God, and that's it. And don't let your foundation be shaken by it.
Love that. No matter who has something to say about it, the most important tip is right there. Thank you. Thank you for
You're welcome.
I love it. What was that?
You're welcome.
You're the best. Kate, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Up until this point, and you're going to just keep creating and keep making incredible things in your life. And again, creation is not just music. It's like anything, like it's relationships. It's like anything that was not there before is divine in nature. It's creation. It's amazing. So up until this point in your life, what creation are you most proud of?
Creation that I am most proud of. Keeping my family, my brothers and sisters together. Family is so important to me. And I've heard it so much from my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters that when I call on a family meeting or something, to create something of togetherness, they really respect. And I am the youngest out of 9, and it seems like that people listen to me, and I don't know why, but they listen to me, the older ones, of if something needs to be done, we need to do this, we must do this. And I always feel out of place because in the Tongan way, the oldest always makes the decisions. And I'm in New York and I'll call up my older brother in Salt Lake and I'm like, hey, you need to do this. You need to do this and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, and I'm like, no, you need to do it. And so he does it. And it just, for me, it's bringing togetherness with families, and not just families, but family and friends.
Creating together. That's beautiful. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ta'u. It's honestly, one of the greatest moments that I remember and I love is like walking through the streets of New York in the middle of nowhere and running into another Polynesian. I'm not Polynesian. My heart is Polynesian. That, you know, is so fun because it's rare, and that was just like so precious. And you know that, like, it's very rare, I'm sure. And
it is, because when I run into another Polynesian here in New York, it's like you stop and you stare and you're like, are you Polynesian? And yeah. And then all of a sudden it's really cool because you could be from Tonga, Samoa, New Zealand, or Fiji, or wherever. It's like when the Polynesian gets together here in New York, it's all of a sudden it's just like, oh, we're one.
Yep.
And, you know, and you come together and you meet up and you know, you become a family.
And that is another incredible thing about the Polynesian culture that, you know, everybody should instill, right? Just like this unity, this togetherness, like, it's just incredible. So I really appreciate that you shared that your greatest creation is the bond with friends and family, because that is what it's all about, and that will endure forever. And that's one of the greatest creations I personally feel like too. So thank you. Thank you so much for talking and sharing. You are the best. You're so awesome. I hope that people that really need to hear it, I feel like when you put it out there and you pray about it, like, the eyes that need to be on it get on it.
Amen. That's true.
So?
That's true, because a lot of people would, you know, people that are going through something in their life that is either dramatic or inspiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go through YouTube or whatever, and they stumble across something that changes their life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully this will be one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. People's real life stories are so much more powerful than like the fake Pinterest, everything's perfect, because it's not. Like, it never is.
It's true. It's true. But thank you so much for having me, and thank you for asking me. And hopefully we will catch up.
Yeah. Thank you,
All
Ta'u.
right. Merry Christmas.
See you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.